Six things you need to master as a product owner. Part 6, Product Backlog Management. Now, why does this matter? What is product backlog management actually all about? It's about creating, ordering, and refining all the work for the current product goal. The product goal is a key artifact in Scrum. It serves as the source for the sprint goals. Let's look at this a little bit more into detail. So let's first look at product backlog creation. It is called a product backlog, and it is not a how we work backlog, or this is our architecture backlog, or this is our infrastructure backlog, or any combination thereof. It's called a product backlog because it describes the product from the user's perspective. And as a user, you do not really care about how and it's being built. You care about the why and the what. Users really tend to be egoists in that reason, but it's valid. It's their right. Now go and talk to the right people. Have the conversation through which you understand the narrative so that you can formulate the acceptance criteria correctly. Now, the order is all about maximizing the value given our time constraint. Now, what is the most valuable thing to do first? This could be user value, it could be feature risk mitigation, technical risk mitigations, or a spike together understanding to make an informed decisions. There are other factors like technical or feature dependencies, or even developer availability. My advice, don't spend too much time on ordering. Lay out a couple of sprint goals and have those reflected in your product backlog. Refinement is about moving away from big design upfront, an activity-driven project management approach. Scrum is all about having a working product at the end of every sprint. Refinement is about vertical slicing of the product features from a user's perspective. Now, slices which fit into one sprint can be selected during the sprint planning. I like to think about it as just-in-time requirement engineering. Now, what happens if you don't master it? Well, you wouldn't leverage and benefit from the vertical slicing. For me, vertical slicing is an enabling constraint helping us to cope with complexity of the product development. It provides transparency. You would be doing Scrum, but not have the validation at the end of the sprint. You could show output, but not the anticipated outcome. You would not be able to validate your feature assumptions and adapt your product backlog accordingly. A sign that you are doing it wrong is that you will spend many of the first sprints to nail down the architecture and infrastructure. And also this makes for a rather boring sprint review. Now, what is a great example of this? A simple trick is to not create the product backlog directly, but to create a user story map as pioneered by Jeff Patton, and then turn that story map into your product backlog. Another good practice is impact mapping by Geico Agile. In both practices, you bring in the user first, and then through extensive collaboration and conversation, you will create an answer together. The answer is the what. By doing this, the what is the result of a multi-step process and not the first thing which comes to your mind. Actually, I like to do both story and impact mapping and see if they align and if there's something we can learn from possible differences. Once you have done those exercises, you order your what's as product backlog items in your product backlog.